back students to our last video on chapter 4 climate. In this video we will cover the extra information given and the questions asked at the end of this chapter. We now move on to the question asked on page number 29. The question is, considering the location, extent and climatic conditions of both the countries, write months as per in the seasons. Now we need to understand a simple concept. Okay, we already know that India lies in the northern hemisphere, whereas most of Brazil lies in the southern hemisphere. The seasons in the northern hemisphere are opposite of those in the southern hemisphere. Now we'll see how. The earth has seasons because of its tilt. The earth has 23.5-degree tilt as it orbits the sun. If there was no tilt, there would be no seasons. The tilt means in December to February, the northern hemisphere receives less energy from the sun and shorter daylight hours, and the southern hemisphere receives more energy and longer days. Now we will take a look at this particular diagram. This is the sun, okay, and this is the earth which orbits around the sun. Okay, this is the tilt. Okay, 23.5-degree tilt. Now as we know, we've already studied in our lower classes that if the earth did not tilt, there would be no season. Now this is the position of the earth in December, and we know that India lies in the northern hemisphere, most of Brazil lies in the southern hemisphere. Now in December, the southern part is closer to the sun, it receives direct sunlight, and the northern hemisphere is away from the sun. So the northern hemisphere, since it's away from the sun, has winter season, and the southern hemisphere, okay, experiences summer season. Now this is totally opposite in what we experience in June. In June, the northern hemisphere comes close to the sun, okay, it receives direct sunlight, and the southern hemisphere moves away from the sun. So the northern hemisphere in June experiences summer, and the southern hemisphere in June experiences winter. Okay, so now we'll see the table. Now seasons. Okay, this is the summer season, winter season. Now India experiences summer between March to May. Okay, this is approximate, okay, because we're just considering summer and winter. And Brazil experiences winter in March, from March to July. Now please note here, see, this is totally opposite. Now if India is experiencing summer from March to May, Brazil experiences winter from March to July, and in some places in August as well. Now summer is experienced in Brazil in from December to February, okay, and India experiences winter from December to February. So both these are opposite. We'll cover the facts given on page number 30 of our textbook. The first fact, temperatures in Ganganagar in Rajasthan goes up to 50 degrees Celsius in June. So this is the Ganganagar district. Then Kargil town often experiences temperatures as low as -48 degrees Celsius in winter. So here we have Kargil. Mawsynram and Cherrapunji in East Khasi Hill district of Meghalaya are the wettest places not only in India but also in the world. So we have Meghalaya, and Mawsynram and Cherrapunji lie to the south of Meghalaya. Then Jaisalmer in western Rajasthan, so this is Jaisalmer, which is in this corner, is the driest part of India. It receives less than 120 millimeters of rainfall annually. Tamil Nadu receives maximum rainfall during the retreating monsoon season. So Tamil Nadu receives maximum rainfall during the retreating, that is from the northeast monsoon winds. The fact given on page number 31. Brazil is a tropical country. It normally does not receive snowfall because the sun's rays are direct are perpendicular in that area, but in exceptional conditions, southern polar air masses. So we need to understand what do we mean by southern polar air masses. But in exceptional conditions, southern polar air masses reach the southern part of Brazil. This causes snowfall here. Snowfall has been recorded in 1879, 1957 and 1985. Now the southern part of Brazil lies in the temperate zone because the Tropic of Capricorn passes through the southern part of Brazil. Now let's see what is the explanation. Now children, I've just given the explanation so that you understand this concept well. Okay, this is not important from the examination point of view. I've just given it so that you understand it properly. Okay, now first of all we need to understand what are air masses. So an air mass is a large volume of air. In short, it is air in the atmosphere that is mostly uniform, that is, it is same in temperature and moisture. They are formed over large surfaces where the temperatures and humidity are uniform. So wherever the temperature and humidity are same, they are formed. The region where they are formed or the surface where they are formed are called source regions. These air masses take the characteristics of the source region if they remain stationary at that place for a long time. So if the wind does not move it, they remain at the same place and they take the characteristics or the features of that particular region. That is, if it is cold in the source region, the air masses will be cold, and if the source region is hot or if that place is hot, the air masses will be hot. Now, when winds move the air masses, okay, when winds blow with a great force, they move the air masses, they carry their weather, the air masses, they carry their weather conditions. That is, if the air masses are hot, okay, they carry the heat to the new region. Okay, so when winds move the air masses, they carry their weather conditions, heat or cold, dry or moist from the source region to a new region. When the air masses reach a new region, it might clash with another air mass. Okay, because the air masses, it could be hot, it could be cold, it could be dry, it could be moist. Okay, so if from a cold region, if a cold air mass clashes with a hot air mass, there's a difference in temperature and moisture, and this can create a severe storm. Now, polar air masses, okay, are formed in high latitude and are cold in characteristics. Now, we know the polar area, yeah, the poles, okay, from there. Cold air masses tend to flow towards the equator and warm air masses tend to flow towards the poles. So opposite ways. Okay, cold air masses, they flow towards the equator because it's hot, and warm air masses, they tend to flow towards the pole because they are hot. Snow occurs in Brazil primarily in 3 southern states, that is Paraná, Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina. Okay, winter in these states happens or occurs in the months of June, July and August. Hope you've understood this concept properly. We now move on to a last question on page number 31, where they've asked, Cherrapunji and Mawsynram received more than 11,000 millimeters of rainfall. Shillong, which is located very near to these places, receives only 1000 millimeter of rainfall. Now, what could be the reason behind it? So I've just given you a simple explanation. Okay. Now, Cherrapunji and Mawsyn Ram are situated in the southern part of Meghalaya, whereas Shillong is situated to their north. Now, we'll just have a quick look here. See, this is Mawsyn Ram and this is Cherrapunji. So, the Mawsyn Ram and Cherrapunji, they are located in the southern part of Meghalaya. So, to the north of this, we have Shillong. Okay, but between them, we have the East Khasi Hills. Okay. So the monsoon winds moving from the Bay of Bengal travel upward towards Meghalaya in the north direction. So the monsoon winds, they travel from Bay of Bengal in the north direction. Meghalaya is surrounded by 3 hills, namely the Khasi Hills, Garo Hills and Jayantiya Hills. So we have the Jayantiya Hills. Can we see here? The East Jayantiya Hills, the West Jayantiya Hills. These are the Jayantiya Hills. Then we have the West Khasi Hills, the East Khasi Hills, the South Khasi Hills. So these are the Khasi Hills, and we have the Garo Hills here. These are the Garo Hills. Okay, the North Garo Hills, West, South, and the South Garo Hills here. Okay, this is the Southwest Garo Hills. So Meghalaya is surrounded by these 3 hills. So when the winds enter Meghalaya, they first visit Cherrapunji and Mawsyn Ram, windward side of the hills. So this is the windward side of the hills. Basically, the windward side is the side of the hills facing the incoming moisture-laden winds. Thus, because of these 3 hills, the moisture-laden winds get trapped in Cherrapunji and Mawsyn Ram itself, and that's the reason there's heavy rainfall here. Okay, because by the time the cloud, okay, the moisture-laden clouds, they move to the other part of the hill, okay, they lose most of its moisture. By the time the clouds go over the hills, most of their moisture is lost as rain, leaving a much smaller amount for the leeward side where Shillong lies. So Shillong lies in the rain shadow region or the leeward side, and these 2 lie in the windward side. Thus, we've already seen what is an orographic rainfall. So an orographic type of rainfall occurs here. Thus, an orographic type of rainfall occurs. Mawsyn Ram and Cherrapunji lie on the windward side of the hills, and Shillong lies on the leeward side of these hills. With this, children, we have come to an end of Chapter 4, Climate. I know you have understood. Stay home, stay safe, take care. Bye-bye.